Welcome back to Stab the Dragon. This is episode number 54, Whiskey Review number 30. We're going to be looking at Herman Marshall Texas Bourbon, Distillery Reserve. Distillery Reserve, and that means we're looking at high proof here, 117.5. So let me pour a glass. This whiskey, I gave a total score of 75, and that's, man, I don't know. There's just something going on here. History, 5 out of 5 points. Marketing, packaging, bottle, 4 out of 5. Composition, 14 out of 15. Appearance, 4 out of 5. Nose, 7 out of 10. Taste, 19 out of 25. Mouthfeel and finish, 12 out of 15. Price, value, and availability, 6 out of 10. Kneader mixer, 2 out of 5. Bonus points, 2 out of 5. Letter grade, B minus, maybe. So what's going on with this whiskey? If you're drinking your way around the Texas distilleries, I think you should try Herman Marshall. I like their history and what they're trying to do, but unless you're a hard-charging proof hound, stick with the 92 proof bourbon, not this barrel proof Distillery Reserve at 117.5. I've had other high proof bourbons that I liked way more, so it's not just the proof that's turning me off here a bit. Now here's the qualifier. When I first opened this bourbon back in January of 2022, and it's now June of 2022, I had a couple of pours over a couple of weeks, and I liked it much better than I did last night when I tried this again. I don't think COVID affected my taste. We had COVID back then, okay, and a subsequent sinus infection. And so that's why I went for the high proof, is that if I'm sick, I like drinking higher proof whiskeys to kind of help my sinuses, help my throat. And it actually does help, it really does. And I don't think COVID affected my taste. It didn't affect any other taste. I mean, that's something my family, we didn't get. It affected our vision a little bit, but not our smell, not our taste. My smell's bad anyway. But, you know, I was stuffy, I had a scratchy throat, and so that's why I drank this, and really, it was good. In fact, it impressed me. And usually, for a neck pour, when I first open a bottle, that's usually not the time to be impressed. It's usually a time of, not sure about this one. But I liked Herman Marshall right off the bat. So, my recommendation. Distillery Reserve, this high proof, I'm not sure I can recommend. You know, unless you're just a die-hard proof hound. I do want to try the 92 proof, and I haven't been able to find it. So, you know, I'll get to the story about how I found this one here in a little bit. But so my recommendation, yeah, if you're drinking around the Texas distilleries, you have to try Herman Marshall. They did make quite a splash when they opened. I mean, you know, they were highly recognized. They won some prizes and stuff. If you go to the distillery and they have this Distillery Reserve, you know, maybe not. Yeah, you got to be a proof hound for it, I think, but we'll see. So that's my recommendation for right now. But let's go into the details, right? Let's talk about the history here. Herman Beckley and Marshall Lewis, and Marshall's from South Africa. So if you hear him speak, he's got a noticeable British type accent from South Africa. They met in a Starbucks and started talking whiskey. They both seemed to have a passion for whiskey and began researching pre-prohibition whiskeys for both the recipes and the methods and equipment of distilling. And then they decided, let's go all in. And so they formed a partnership. They started the first whiskey distillery in Dallas County since Prohibition. And that was back in 2010. So right around 2010, you got Balcones, you got Herman Marshall, you got Garrison Brothers. I'm not sure who all else, but right around that time frame, a lot of distilleries were starting. But they started it in Garland, which is a suburb of Dallas. And by 2013, they had product out and they were winning awards. Awards include, in 2013, the silver medal in American Distilling Institute's annual spirits competition, placing second place out of 400 entries. Now, that's pretty impressive, actually. I mean, if you're placing second out of 4 entries, well, not so much, but 400, yeah. They won Best Small Batch Bourbon in the International Whiskey Competition. And their rye, which I'll do next after this episode, their rye won a bronze from the American Distilling Institute as well. But in November of last year, 2021, Herman Marshall was sold to Dry County Distilleries. And the new owners are relocating from Garland to Wiley. And that may play a role in how I got this bottle, I'm thinking. Okay, so for history, 5 out of 5 for history, because it is pretty cool that it's the first distillery in Dallas since Prohibition. And I like the idea of a Texan, 2 Texas friends joining. One of them's from South Africa, joining together in a business. I mean, I like the story, right? And if you can give me a convincing story like that, 5 points for history. Marketing, packaging, bottle. This is a flask-shaped bottle. The label, it's not a real classy label by any means, but it is bold. It's noticeable. It's bold. It sticks out there with the black and the orange. So it's got a rubber stopper in the cap, and it's dipped in black wax. So, you got the wax thing going on, which I'm not a huge fan of. But otherwise, I mean, it's a decent bottle. I don't recall seeing any advertisements around, but when I check online, the website is reasonably good. There's some reviews of the lower proof, the 92 proof. In fact, I didn't find a single review out there anywhere, either YouTube or written, for this Distillery Reserve at the 117.5 proof. No reviews. This may be the first review. I don't know. The label's got no age statement. The bottle here says it's from Garland, but I kind of think they are actually operating in Wiley now. But when I bought the bottle, it's probably from Garland, because the move and all that is just taking place. So 4 out of 5 for marketing, packaging, and bottle. Composition. This bottle is the Distillery Reserve, bottled at 58.75% alcohol, and therefore 117.5 proof in a 750 milliliter bottle. The mash bill is 77% corn and 23% malted barley. So there's no rye in here at all. There's no wheat. It's just a 2-grain mash bill. And that's a little bit unique, okay? And I find that interesting, the really high malted barley content. And that, affects the flavor, for sure. It says that they use AAA rated corn from the Panhandle of Texas. They use 2 open-top 500-gallon cypress wood tanks for fermenting the mash. And there's a little story about that. I mean, they researched, what the old-time guys did for fermenting the mash, and everything they saw came up with cypress wood tanks. So that's what they do. And then they've got 400-gallon handcrafted copper pot still, and they heat it with steam. That's interesting as well. Again, these guys are going back to the old days of whiskey to find out how the old guys did it from the early 1900s and the late 1800s. They use water from a spring in East Texas. And now that they've moved to Wiley, that's a little bit further east than Garland. They age it in just a 1-floor rickhouse. And I've not seen an age statement online or I have seen an age statement online, not on the bottle, and it says aged 4 to 8 years. So I'm not sure what that means, except maybe that they blend them, and the young stuff is 4 and the older stuff is 8. That could be what that means. And it says it's distilled and bottled in Dallas. So this is a homegrown Texas whiskey. 14 out of 15 for composition. And I did not see where they got the barley though, so that's the one negative point on there. But 14 out of 15 because I like what they're doing. I mean, really, their idea, their plan is pretty cool. The appearance of this whiskey, it is fairly dark. Now, I don't have my lights on. Let me go turn on some lights. And that's called dead air, is what that's called. Okay, but this is fairly dark. You can see that. Maybe, I'd have to hold this up to the Tabacero, but the appearance, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because that's really a nice, rich, dark color. Aged in Texas, you would hope so, right? So appearance, 4 out of 5. Nosing. Now, keep in mind my nose is pretty useless. The website says light caramel, mild wood, hints of gingerbread and apple. This is not a strong nose for me. My nose does not work with a lot of bourbons, but sometimes with Texas whiskey, I can smell something. And then scotches and ryes I can smell, but this one, really not much. 7 out of 10. Taste, the all-important taste. Here you go. Website says complex with warm spice. I would agree with that. Sweet corn, yeah. In fact, a little bit similar to mellow corn. I mean, mellow corn, it's corn whiskey, really strong corn. So I'm getting a strong corn here, corn flavor. But with only a little bit of the Texas funk. Normally with Texas whiskeys, I get a pretty strong Texas funk. It's the barrel char flavor that goes into the whiskey because of the Texas heat. This one, just a little bit. Yeah, not a whole lot of the Texas funk. Spicy, yeah, very spicy. Some of that could be the higher proof because there's no rye in this thing. With the 23% malted barley, I'm not getting any barley funk at all. Just not. Just the corn and a little bit of the barrel. So I'm not getting vanilla, I'm not getting fruit. It seems actually, the website says complex. I'm not so sure about it being complex. I would say, bordering on simple maybe. Good. I mean, it's decent. Simple is not a bad thing with me. Other people, maybe so. I really kind of think the high proof of this Distillery Reserve is not helping it. So, this is better than it was the other day when I tried it. Not as good as the first time that I had it 6 months ago, but it's better than it was the other day. And I'll tell you what happened the other day is I had a smoky scotch first. And I think that smoky scotch may have ruined this. Okay, here I did have some iced tea just a while ago. There you go. Oh, no, that's a good comparison. Which is darker, the whiskey or the tea? Man, that's pretty close. So, I don't know. Taste, 19 out of 25. Mouthfeel, finish. The website says long, smooth, sweet, and dry. The whiskey is rich, but the strong proof does take over. It gives it a definitely warm, hot, spicy note, which I like. Okay, so there is that. Okay, now that hot, spicy note, it's not an offensive alcohol burn, but it does burn up into my sinuses, which for me is a good thing. Okay, smooth whiskeys are great. They're awesome. But if I had to choose, I prefer something that's going to burn up into my sinuses some, as long as it's not just the raw alcohol thing. So this has that. Of course, it's 117.5, so sure, of course it would. The finish is dry. I'll agree with that. As far as long, I'm just not getting a whole lot of flavor on the finish. The spice lingers a little bit, not so much the sweet. 12 out of 15 for mouthfeel and finish. Price, value, and availability. This is, according to one site I checked, available in Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, but with the recent sale to Dry County, they hope to expand that soon. I got this at Goody Goody for about $54, I think. And I say about, I can't check it again. Nobody has the Distillery Reserve. It's no longer available anywhere. So when I got this one, I really didn't understand what Distillery Reserve meant. I just knew, hey, this is a high proof whiskey and under $60, so why not? Even though it says Distillery Reserve right on the bottle, I should have checked this out. I just kind of thought, oh, Herman Marshall bourbons are all like this. Okay, no, dummy. This would be available at the distillery, so how did Goody Goody get it, right? Well, that's, again, I didn't research this beforehand very much. I didn't know they were moving their distillery to Wiley. And so this is what I think happened. I got this bottle either late last year, pretty sure it was late last year, maybe in January, but I know that's when I opened it. So I think I've had it for a while since before I opened it. So we're looking at a distillery that's getting ready to move. If they had a bunch of these Distillery Reserve barrels or bottles on hand, they needed to offload it to reduce their moving expenses maybe, and Goody Goody said, oh, we'll take it. And so there you go. It's a Goody Goody. So I have never seen the 92 or 93 proof Herman Marshall bourbon. Never. This is the only one I've ever seen. And so that's the one I got. Well, I take that back. I did see their blend somewhere, and now I can't find it anywhere. So price, value, and availability, $54, but you can't get it anymore. Maybe at the distillery, I guess. I really wish I had the 92 proof, but again, I can't find that right now. So Specs doesn't have this. Total Wine doesn't have this. I think if you're going to get a Distillery Reserve, you got to go to the distillery. So that affects my score. So only 6 out of 10 for price, value, and availability. Neat or mixer, only 2 out of 5 because, it's just, to me, it doesn't have that much going on. For a high proof whiskey, it'd probably go okay in a cocktail. But again, I'm not getting a whole lot of flavor out of this. I just not. So 2 out of 5. Bonus points, again, 2 out of 5. They've got a good story, good history. It's a local distillery, North Texas. It's doing things I like, but I'm just not getting the flavor here. It's all heat, no flavor. And so, I don't know. It's kind of let me down a little bit. It's not bad. Okay, this is not bad. I will drink this and be glad for it. I will never buy this again. I will look for and buy the lower proof, 92, 93, whatever it is. I'll look for that. but I will not buy this one again. So my total score is a 75, B minus, and again, my letter grades are always a little bit higher than my total score. And my recommendation, again, unless you're a proof hound, I can't recommend it. If you're drinking your way around Texas, I would find the lower proof edition of Herman Marshall and try that. That's what I hope to do eventually. But this one, I'm just, I'm not going to buy it again, and I'm not going to recommend it. And if I was going to go to the distillery and this was available, I wouldn't buy it. So that's just me. Again, there's nothing bad here. It just doesn't do it for me. Now, what I do like about it, let me emphasize that there's some positive here. A, it's not bad. B, the high proof. I drank it first. I opened the bottle when I had COVID and a sinus infection following COVID. And for that purpose, it was great, and so I like keeping high proof whiskeys around for that. And so that's, that's what this will be. So conclusion, whiskey and coffee are strange drinks. You can like it one day and not the next. As you drink down a bottle, the actual whiskey will change due to its contact with the air. But guess what? Your palate can change too. Sometimes it's something simple like what you ate or drank for supper. I had that smoky scotch the other day before I had this, and I think that ruined it because it's a little bit better today. But I will definitely seek out the Herman Marshall lower proof and give it a try. Next time on Stab the Dragon, I will open the Herman Marshall Distillery Reserve rye whiskey, right? So I've got that. It's also high proof. So we'll do that next time. But for now, that's all. Out here.